One of the most important things as an investor is to have your setup of your analysis set up in a way that you could spot opportunities early, fast, and be able to easily and clearly see what you're looking at in the markets. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I have my trading setup and investing setup when it comes to using the Robinhood app. Now, when using a platform, it's important to realize it's kind of like if you're sailing a ship. Obviously, you're going to want your compass, you're going to want your GPS, maybe the thing that can kind of tell if there's rocks below you. You're also going to want some really good weather analysis, that you know the weather's going to be good, that you have a clear port of where you're going to arrive and your goal for your trip. But there's some things that's like, obviously it's not going to cover everything. If you have everything on the boat, but you don't have fuel in your boats, or you don't have your sails set, like obviously you're not going to go anywhere. So this is a one piece of the analysis that I'm going to break down. But obviously there's other things we consider when investing. Like a lot of times it's like you got to have a good idea of the intrinsic value. It's kind of like if you think about a person, for example, you might meet somebody and they're old, but their mind is still really young, like they're like a kid. Or you might meet a kid that and their mind is really old. You really don't know. And how do you can measure someone pretty closely by looking at their age, but how do you really know the age of their mind or how much they've developed or things like that? The way that you know is, you ask questions or you dive deeper. And so essentially in this, it's not going to be just this. There's other deeper things you're going to do. But let's jump into what we look for on the surface when using the Robinhood app. So the first thing you're going to do is they have some kind of sample things of what it looks like to add a thing. So the first thing you're going to do is add a widget. So you're going to create a new layout. I'm going to title this layouts. We'll call it the sample layout. I personally have a stock meets layout and a mobile view layout. If you want, this is actually the exact stock meet layout we use. And if you want to know how we invest with stock meets, and we trade every single day at market open, I would love for you to subscribe, like the video if you enjoy, so you can get insights into the cutting edge companies. But here's what we got. The first thing that I like to add over on the left is a watch list. So I'm going to add a watch list and I'm going to make it small, usually as small as I can. And this is where you can create a new watch list. So if you click here, and you go down to the bottom, you create a new watch list. So you might call it something like, we were recently, what's a watch list we need to create? We were recently in aviation. Drone tech. So drone tech watch list, let's say. And now you can kind of add the companies. So I'm going to add, like, let's say RCAT is one. And we'll just leave it at that. I think another one might be, are they a stock? You got Para Zero. There's some other ones. But anyway, you add it there and you have some drone tech. Now, this is also something in the top left. You can kind of make sure you link to other widgets, which we'll talk about in a second. But the next thing I'm going to go ahead and add here is going to be the actual chart. So I'm going to add a chart. Okay, so first thing, the chart looks like this. It looks really spacey. You see all these spaces. I don't like to use the default chart here. My favorite is going to be the Heikinashi, I think it's called Heikinashi. Here, you can click it and it will show you a kind of better candlestick. I believe it to be more accurate. So we have this stock pulled up here, and the next thing we're going to want to do is add our indicators in the chart. So I kind of drag this over here and I'm going to add the indicators, and you see this blue thing, this links the group. So if I click on PRZO, it's going to show PRZO. You see that? So that is because they're linked with the blue. Now keep that in mind. So the first thing we're going to do is add indicators. So the indicators that I like to use here are up here. You click indicators. I like to personally use an RSI. This is great for indicating the strength. It's called the Relative Strength Index, and it was developed to show when a stock maybe oversold or overbought. And so when it's overbought, when it indicates the sell, is when it's above that $70 price point, or 70 point range on this RSI, so 70. And then if it's below 30, then it's going to be oversold, and it will be indicating a buy. The RSI is an interesting one because not only is it going to be 70-30 and the default is perfectly fine, sometimes when we find ourselves in a really bullish situation, I might be able to find a really bullish situation here. Let's say like this is a pretty bullish situation right here where everything was kind of going up. Sometimes in order to adjust for a bullish situation, we'll add or we'll trim down a little bit, and we'll go like the overbought is a 65 range and the oversold is not 30, it's more like let's say 40, or let's say 38, somewhere in there. And you see how now, even in an uptrend, it's an uptrend, but it's really pretty well indicating the oversold side and the overbought side. So it kind of depends on the market conditions with the RSI. I like to use it, like, for example, it was just after the elections. I was staying at a family member's house. My wife and I were driving across the United States for a lovely drive we wanted to do from Miami all the way through Florida, through Pensacola, through Dallas, and into California. But on the way, we stopped in New Mexico. We are just getting the elections. They just happened. And I'm up till 3 a.m. trading. And the volatility in Tesla stock was absolutely mad. It was so bullish. It was rocketing. And we were up till 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. maybe, trading Tesla stock. And we adjusted our RSI to fit those conditions to be hyper bullish. So sometimes we adjust the RSI, but the general rule of thumb for the relative strength index is going to be here at 70-30. Okay. So the next indicator that we add is going to be the MACD. The MACD is the moving average convergence divergence. And essentially, the MACD is used to indicate when a stock is overbought or oversold, but it's another indicator that can help you because it shows usually momentum better. So I'll give you an example. Do you see this level right here where this para zero stock was having a support here? There was a support level right here. You see this support? Basically kind of staying at the same spot, bouncing right here, actually bouncing the second time right here, even lower. You see that? Well, over on the RSI, it was showing signs of it bouncing at the exact same level, maybe even a little bit lower. And over on the chart, it was showing it was bouncing once here and then bouncing even lower. So what does divergence mean? Divergence is essentially when, two things that are portraying for the same goal are portraying it differently. And the divergence here shows that while the chart is double bottoming and it's even lower on the second time it hit, and the RSI is a perfect double bottom right there, about 30 in that range on the RSI, that the MACD was actually indicating momentum. You see how the first time it dipped here, it was this low. The second time it dipped here, it was actually building momentum and it wasn't dipping as low. And so the MACD helps to identify divergence when a stock might be indicating one thing with all the indicators in the chart, and the MACD can spot it another way. And so as you can see, that was a momentum build, and we see it start to continue up. And the same thing is true, for example, when it peaked here and then it peaked again. The second time it peaked, it was lower. It's kind of indicating maybe a slowdown in momentum. And so that's just something to consider. The MACD is a great indicator. I like to use it quite often. It's great for kind of those shorter term, couple weeks to couple months trades, or even in the middle of the day, short term. That's kind of what we use these indicators for a lot of times. Now let's get into some of the chart indicators. Setting up the chart here is really important because we have some very highly used indicators that most institutions will reference when making investment decisions. And it's good to know what the biggest players use. It's good to know what the institutions that have billions of dollars in the market are looking at for their indicators, right? So that's why we use it a lot of times. And that's going to be the EMA, the exponential moving average, and the SMA. Now I'm going to start with the SMA first. So the SMA, how we have it set up is we do a length of 200. That's the 200-day moving average. And I like to show a color that's easily identifiable, and I might even make it a little thicker. And that's actually not a very satisfying green. I think I want something more like that. There we go. So the the 200-day moving average usually is going to show overall direction, and it's something that helps you to identify when a stock is really holding bullish or really bearish. So for example, like when it crossed below the 200-day moving average here, it was holding below. When it broke above, things were looking more bullish. So bearish when it's below, bullish when it's above. Now the EMA, so that's a simple moving average. It takes the close, I believe, depends on how you have it set, but usually it's going to be the close, of each day. And so at the end of the day, when the price closes, what is that price? And it takes the average of the closes over a 200-day period to give you this moving average. Now, when it comes to the exponential moving average, the exponential moving average aims to show you a more predictive trend, as it's tighter, and not only tighter, it's oftentimes going to be it's exponential. So there's a multiple involved in it. So it calculates the moving average over a set time, and it gives more weight to the recent prices. And so usually the EMA we set at a 15-day moving average, as most institutions do, and we're going to go with that blue is what I like to make it. So now we're getting into kind of the full chart setup, how we do it. And we can also see up here, click in the top, and you can change it to the trading session or what's going on with our portfolio. Doesn't look like it's moving. Maybe Bitcoin, there we go. You'll see it's green. And one thing that we like to do with this EMA is the same reading as with the SMA. If it's up above that EMA, then it's bullish. If it's holding below, then it's bearish. And you see that EMA act as a resistance when it's bearish, and that EMA act as a support for the chart when it's bullish. Does that make sense? So sometimes you'll see consolidation for sure, like that from left to right for many months. But overall, when we're in, it's a good indicator. For example, that's a break in pattern, and then you see it consolidate. And then this is a trend where it's just holding above that EMA, breaks below for a second, but finds support, breaks back above, and it's holding above. So it's a good indicator for indicating direction of a trend. So we use that EMA quite often as well. So the last widget we're going to add, two widgets, are going to be on the right side. And the first one is going to be our positions. And the positions will show you where you at with your profits and how are things. Are they up? Are they down? And you can see your different positions. And if you wanted to, for example, you could link this orange and turn it over to orange on the chart. And when you select red wire in that position, it will show that position. And if you select ARBB, which we do have a position over there earlier today on Arbitrum, which is building the tokenization of stocks with Robinhood, which I think at a very small market cap, we're going to see them get up into some new levels. And I really like their mission there to kind of globalize stock trading in the form of linking assets to linking crypto and stocks. I think it's going to be a big deal. So B is one we're trading, and we just entered that today, and it's a Sunday. So anyway, why is that important? Because you could see your different positions if you want to link them. I usually have the chart linked over to the watch list with the blue. Keeps me a little bit more forward looking. And then the other widget we're going to add is going to be the recent orders. And I'll usually add recent orders here so I could see the different positions, where we buy, how much we're buying, and get an idea of which positions. Now, this is the full setup. I'll go between different watch lists, and we'll jump back and forth between which companies we watch. But that's how you set up your Robinhood legend. If you're trying to view the stocks the way that I personally view them, I found this to be a very great way to keep a good view of the markets. And there's other things we do. So, for example, let's say we were analyzing a stock like what's a good one to analyze. Let's say we're going over to space tech. A nice one we've been watching and investing in for a while is ASTS. They're at an all-time high. There's this, but a lot of times what we'll go over to is we'll check the financials, and we'll see the market cap, and we'll see the income statements, and we'll see where that's at, and then we'll see the balance sheet, and we'll see how their assets are and their liabilities and their cash flow and their net income, all those things. Then you will probably go over to their website, and we'll look at not the news from Joe Schmo and the random news that comes out and all the hype, but we want to look at all of the direct from the source press releases from that company, or we're looking at specifically their product, which in this case would be like 5G cellular broadband, and you have the satellites opening up, and we can read about their product and kind of how it works, right? So we'll go through all these things, and we look at the market, the stock price, or the actual how it looks. But also one thing that we usually will be looking at too is going to be like the institutional holdings and things like that, so we can see what the orders look like. So that's the full breakdown. That's how I use this. Hopefully it's been helpful for you and you find value in the video. If you ever want to learn technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and get targets for the upcoming weeks, as well as our daily live trading sessions we have every morning at Market Open. There's a great community of like-minded investors here, along with the earnings we come out with each week for targets of which companies are reporting. And then on top of that, you get our daily live trading sessions. It's the second link in the description if you want to learn from me on a consistent basis, but also just see our positions, see how we invest. We've had some good trades recently, and I think some of them are definitely up. We got Rigetti, so quantum computing, Black Sky, so space. We're talking AMD, even some drone tech there. We got OSS. A lot of them come from members inside of our StockMate community. That's from Kenny, Taiwan Semiconductor. It's a really good community, but also the investors inside of the community have good stuff there. And I would love to send you a free t-shirt anywhere in the world. If you join StockMate, you get lifetime access for recurring live sessions Monday through Friday at Market Open every morning, and a free t-shirt. I'll shoot it to you anywhere in the world. Thanks so much for tuning in. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.